Hey y'all, hi! Today I'm going to be showing you some pieces of clothing. She said she wanted to be in the intro, but then as soon as I started talking, she's like, no, put me down. I am going to be showing you a handful of pieces of clothing that I have purchased secondhand over the past couple of months. I am a huge fan of secondhand shopping. I would actually say the backbone of my wardrobe is clothing that I purchased secondhand. And I've gotten a lot of requests for videos about how to shop secondhand well, how to make good decisions when you're shopping secondhand. And I'm hoping that I can kind of get at some of those questions by showing you these pieces that I've purchased, kind of talking through the process of how I decided to buy them. So what I was thinking when I was shopping, where I found them in the store, and how I narrowed down my options and finally made the decision to actually go through with each purchase. These are all things that I bought in person. So I'm going to be talking about the experience of being physically in a secondhand shop and going through the options. If you like this and you'd like to see a similar video about strategies for shopping secondhand online, definitely let me know in the comment section down below and I'll get on that. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Sadie, she's not sure whether she wants to be in the video or not. All right, I gotta go pick up the clothes now. Technically, Sadie was a secondhand purchase as well. Somebody had left her at the shelter. The best thing I ever bought. Okay, so this is the first piece. And again, this is kind of a collective haul from the past several months, during which I've kind of been exploring the thrift shops and secondhand shops in this area because I just moved here about 6 months ago and I'm kind of curious what's on offer. This piece came from an actual thrift shop. So not a designer consignment shop, not high-end resale, but like the equivalent of a Salvation Army or a Goodwill. It's by the brand Lafayette 148, which I actually don't really know anything about. When I saw the tag, I think I recalled seeing them in Nordstrom's, but I didn't have that like designer recognition for this brand on the level that I usually do when I'm really excited about a find. It instantly caught my attention because it has several qualities that I know that I prize in clothing. And these are pieces of knowledge that I have in my intellectual brain. Like I've defined these qualities to myself. I've articulated them so that I know what I like in words and concepts, and I'm not just reactive when I'm shopping. Pretty much at the top of my list for qualities that I love in clothing is the word texture. I'm like this in makeup too. If you watch my beauty content, you'll know. I love texture, and I particularly love it when the rest of the garment is monochromatic so that the texture is on show. This is a really dark navy blue, which actually isn't quite in my wheelhouse. It's not one of the colors that I think of myself as wearing. Blue across the board, there just isn't much blue in my wardrobe. But the texture on this top is so dark blue as to look almost black. And I actually feel like it provides a little bit of variety for a wardrobe that does tend towards a lot of black clothing, as you'll see as we move through the haul. So that's what caused me to grab this and decide to try it on and consider making the purchase. Now, there is something really important, I think, about my initial discovery of this product in the store, which was that it was in the extra large section. The size tag has actually been cut out of the garment. I don't know what size Lafayette 148 thinks that this is or says that this is, but it was labeled extra large on the store's tag, and it was hanging in the extra large blouses. When I am thrift shopping, I look through everything. And this is partly because I like an oversized fit. So sometimes I'll find something that is a large or an extra large, even though I usually wear a medium, and I can make it work because it works for my style. But I actually think it's a piece of advice that can work for a lot of people because in thrift shops, things aren't always super organized. Because I go through everything when I'm thrift shopping, because I go through every size of every category in which I'm interested, I'm here to tell you that there are tons of things that are filed in the wrong place in thrift shops. I'm always finding things that are sized one way mixed in with things that are sized another way. I would say that maybe even the majority of things that I've ended up buying at thrift shops have been things that are either labeled a size that I almost never wear, like extra small or extra large, or I've found them hanging with the sizes of things that I almost never wear, like extra small or extra large. And this is the perfect example of this, right? It was at the very, very end of the extra large row. When I saw it, I was like, texture. The texture is one of my things. It looks like it could work for me. I'm going to try it on. I tried it on. I absolutely loved the way that it looked and felt. And then came the final piece of the decision-making puzzle. I thought about how it was going to wear over time and how I was going to take care of it. So I checked the contents tag on this. I learned that it is 72% wool, which actually makes it kind of a special piece because it's semi-sheer, but it's really warm. And to have something that has that sort of semi-sheer sensuality, which I also know is something that's been on trend for the past several seasons, but to have it have enough wool content in it that I can wear it in the winter, that's a gem. So I was very excited to see that. The rest of it is silk, and the tag says dry clean only. I almost never dry clean things, and that's a huge strike against this. So I had a moment in the dressing room at a thrift shop where I was like, do I really want to buy this? And then I said to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get it because I really love it, and I'm going to take the risk of washing it by hand. I know that it's just wool and silk, and handled with care, those are both fibers that can be hand washed. I'll hand wash it with very gentle soap or with shampoo in cold water. I told myself there in the dressing room, I was like, it might not be the same after that, but that's a risk I'm willing to take, especially because I'm buying it secondhand. It's not super expensive, especially for a garment this beautiful, and I feel pretty confident that it is going to be okay washing it that way, just given my experience with wool and silk. That's what I'm going to try to do with it, knowing that it might be a tiny bit of a risk, but feeling comfortable with taking that risk because I want to have a long relationship with the clothes I buy. My plan is that I'll be wearing this for most of the rest of my life. Okay, this is the second thing that I have to show you, and this came from the same shop. Again, a true thrift shop, not designer consignment. I find that at thrift shops like that, I have to dig a little deeper, look through a little bit more. There's not really the same sense of curation that you can sometimes find at designer consignment shops, but the gems, when I find them, are really exciting because the price point tends to be much lower. And this was one of those really exciting moments. This is a 2-piece set. It is vintage. It is vintagey. Like you can feel it even just in the style of the fabric, and you can see it in the tags. They're like a little bit yellowed and worn, but it's by the brand St. John, which I know to be an extremely expensive designer brand that is sold at department stores like Nordstrom's. And I don't know too much about them, but my perception is that St. John makes things like sport knitwear suits for women who own yachts. A wealthy woman in Martha's Vineyard in the summer wearing like a knitted red blazer with gold buttons kind of thing. Coastal grandmother, actually, it's like a really specific niche kind of coastal grandmother vibes that I get from the brand St. John. Now, coastal grandmother is sometimes my vibe, but I'm kind of like the artsy hippie coastal grandmother, like coastal grandmother who does ceramics, not necessarily like generational wealth coastal grandmother. Like if you think of Grace and Frankie, which I feel like is the paradigm for coastal grandmother, I'm definitely Frankie over here, and St. John is like Grace. St. John is like Grace's brand to a T. However, because I have a little bit of that brand recognition, I was interested in it because I thought, well, it's probably well made because it's vintage. The fact that it's St. John made me kind of perk up. I was like, well, even if it's several decades old, if it hasn't been worn very much, and I actually think it might not even have been worn at all. I feel like it might have been dead stock, or it might have just been sitting in the back of someone's closet because it has absolutely no signs of wear. I saw it and I thought, well, it has probably held up. And what it is something that is very chic right now, very popular right now. It's a 2-piece knitwear set. Knitted pants and a knitted top. And actually, when I was going through the racks and I came across this, the first thing that I did was to check the fabric contents, because a knitted set like this, if it was all acrylic, which it kind of felt like to my hand, it doesn't feel spongy and soft in the way that wool usually does. If it was all acrylic, I wasn't even gonna try it on. I have no interest in an all acrylic knitted set. But to my surprise and delight, when I checked the contents, I learned that it's wool. It's a little bit stiff and scratchy feeling for wool, and I think that there just must be something about the way that the yarn was processed, like it was twisted extra tight or something. But I don't get super itchy in my clothes. I'm not super sensitive in that way. Even things that tend to feel itchy to people, like itchy wool. And I love wool clothing because I run very, very cold in the winter, and when I'm cold, wool is like the only thing that will warm me up enough. And when I tried it on, it was absolutely love at first sight. I have never really owned anything quite like this. Like, I've always worked for myself from home. Again, I'm the Frankie and the Grace and Frankie funky. That super polished kind of upscale coastal grandmother vibe is really a step in the direction of professionalism and chicness for me. And I love being able to experiment in a little bit of an unusual direction for me, fashion-wise, with things that I get at thrift shops. I don't think there are care instructions on the tags for these pieces, but I'll definitely wash this set by hand in cold water again and lay it flat to dry. I have already worn this a couple of times since the weather started getting cold, and every time I wear it, I feel amazing. It might be my favorite thing that I've purchased at a thrift shop since I moved here. Okay, now we're getting into some consignment shop purchases. So as most of you probably already know, thrift shops usually contain donations. People drop off things that they don't want anymore, and then the workers of the thrift shop go through them if they're closed, decide which ones are in condition to resell, put them on the racks, and then people come through and buy them. At a consignment shop, people are usually reselling their clothes. So I've actually done it before, taken like a bag of clothes to a consignment shop, and then the people at the consignment shop will go through and tell me which of my pieces they think they can resell. And then they'll take my clothes, they'll hang them in the shop. People will come shopping, and when my clothes sell, the consignment shop will keep a percentage of what was paid by the person who bought my garment, and I'll receive the rest of it. So a consignment shop is like a shop full of things that a whole bunch of different people are trying to sell. And because it's that way, the things usually have higher value because they're things that people didn't want to keep anymore, but they felt maybe they had spent too much on or invested too much in to just donate to something like a thrift shop. And the selection is usually curated because the people who run the consignment shop have only accepted things for consignment that they think are alluring enough or nice enough and in good enough condition to resell. I love consignment shopping. It's probably my favorite kind of secondhand shopping. And if you've never done it before, I really recommend just Googling consignment shop or designer consignment shop, either in your town or the next time you visit like a big city or a bigger town, just to see, because there are way more amazing consignment shops out there than I feel like anybody really knows. They tend to be independent. They tend to be run by really cool people. And for me, I don't know, it's kind of a fun way to interact with sort of the fashion zeitgeist of whichever part of the world you're visiting or living in. I loved going through the clothes at the designer consignment shop where I bought these next couple of pieces because I kind of felt like I was getting to know the women who are reselling their clothes in this area where I now live. And some of those women definitely have the kind of artsy coastal grandmother vibe. Like I feel like there are a handful of artsy coastal grandmothers, like a handful of Frankies, who are consigning their clothes at this designer consignment shop. And I bought 3 pieces from those women or from that woman. This is one of them. So these pants are by a brand called Sula that I didn't know about before. It's a really small brand, independent brand. It's just one amazing designer, one woman. I've since looked her up and followed her on Instagram and kind of checked out the brand a little bit, and it's really cool. I'll link the brands of all of this stuff, of course, in case you want to check them out. But I didn't have that brand recognition when I was going through the clothes at the designer consignment shop. However, I decided to try on these pants because I was kind of particularly looking for comfortable pants. And I was honestly kind of looking for basic black comfortable pants. So I tried on kind of a disproportionate number of pairs of comfortable pants at this thrift shop. This was one of them. And as soon as I got them on, I was like, yes. A lot of what we've already discussed applies. So they're labeled as a size small. I never wear a small in pants. I'm going to say this again. I never wear a small in pants. And if I had the usual kind of conservative sizing mindset or shopping mindset that I have when I'm shopping at a retail store where everything is new, going through and I'm like, oh, they don't have my size in these pants. They're definitely not going to fit. It's absolutely no use trying a small or trying a 4 because I know my body and they're not going to fit, right? If I had that mindset when I was in the consignment shop, I would not have tried on these, my new favorite pair of pants. They are a small. It's right here on the tag, but I always broaden my mind when I'm consignment shopping or when I'm thrift shopping. It's like partly the experience, you know. I was talking to my cousin recently. She's a Gen Z queen, and she was like, I like to go to the thrift shop and just put in my ear pods. Is that what they're called? AirPods? Headphones. She's like, I like to go just put in my headphones and just like get in the zone and like zone out to my music while I'm going through. And that I was not listening to my headphones. So I was in the consignment shop, but I was kind of in that zone. I was like, I'm here. I'm just browsing. I'm just going to try on everything that looks like it could remotely possibly work. I'm not going to close any doors, right? Well, this is another success story that's based on that principle, because I think that these pants are designed to sit really low on the waist and be really drop crotched, which is a style that I like. And I could kind of tell when I looked at them that they had that slightly hippie-ish artistic silhouette, because there's a little bit of tucking on the darts on the insides of the legs that gives them this cool silhouette. But when I put them on, I saw that because the crotch is so low, that kind of acts as like a super high waist on me. So I think that they fit me not quite exactly how they're supposed to fit, but they're absolutely perfect. They also have this cool feature. They have a drawstring waist. It's not elastic, so it doesn't squeeze the stomach. You can kind of choose how loose or how tight you want them to be. And because I was looking for comfortable pants, that really appealed to me. Because it was a consignment shop, these were a little bit more expensive. It wasn't like a thrift shop where everything's $5, $10, $15, right? Since I've looked up the brand, I've learned that Sula pants tend to retail for like hundreds of dollars. So given that that's the case, they cost at the consignment shop a fraction of what they cost new, but it still wasn't a decision that I could take as lightly as I was taking when I was shopping at the actual thrift shop. So I had a little talk with myself in the dressing room about longevity and care, because I didn't want to buy these unless I was absolutely sure that I could wash, wear over and over again, and that they could hold up, be workhorses, be easy to care for. That's what I was looking for in these. So these pants are made from woven cotton, which was what I suspected based on how they feel. And the care tag says that they can be washed in cold water and that I should hang dry them or lay them flat to dry rather than putting them in a dryer, which is what I would have done anyway. I feel confident that they're going to hold up really well over time. I plan to wear them a lot. In fact, I've already worn them a lot. I've worn them like a couple times a week since I bought them. To me, they strike a really great balance. They're a bit polished and put together, like a step up from something like sweatpants or just lounge pants, but they have kind of a cheeky silhouette, a bit of a casual quality, again, kind of a bit of an artistic quality, and they have a fabric that makes me feel like I can really live in them. I can cook in them. I can wipe my hands on them. That to me is like the magic combination of things that makes me feel willing to spend a little bit more on something when I'm buying it secondhand. On that same trip to that same consignment shop, I bought this. Now, this is a little bit of a boring purchase, so I'll try to make it quick. And I'll also say that because it's a little bit of a boring purchase, I hemmed and hawed about it a little bit in the shop. It is a straight up V-neck cashmere sweater from Saks Fifth Avenue Cashmere. So it's like the in-house Saks brand. It's a size medium, which is a size that I would normally take in something like this. I tried it on the store and it fit exactly how I would want it to fit. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. It's really warm and soft and cozy. Because it was being sold secondhand, it was an amazing price for a cashmere sweater. And I was like, Hannah, are you really gonna come here and just buy a black V-neck wool sweater? And the reason that I ultimately answered yes to myself is that, again, I know myself, I get really cold in the winter. When I'm that cold, wool is the only thing that can really keep me warm. And most of my wool sweaters are just a little more statement. They just are the main piece. You know what I mean? Like the attention grabbing piece around which any outfit revolves. To have one that's a really great sort of slightly cropped length that goes really well with all my high-waisted pants. To have it in black in a V-neck, which is my preferred neckline. It's incredibly practical for me, not just because it will keep me warm. So not just because of the practicality of like a garment that serves the major purpose of clothes, which is to like protect your body, but also stylistically, it kind of belongs in the bedrock of the wardrobe, and there wasn't really anything like this already in that bedrock of my wardrobe. So I just knew that it was a smart buy for me. But the thing that really sold me on this is the fact that the cashmere is thick. It's not that really thin, lightweight cashmere that we usually see in cashmere sweaters, especially in like house brands. If it had been that really drapey, thin cashmere and everything else about it had been the same, I wouldn't have bought it. But it just feels like it's going to be super sturdy. I can tell just by the slight fuzziness of this that it has been worn a couple of times. It's not like absolutely pristine new with tags, you know? But it doesn't have any pills. It doesn't have any wear around the seams. The tag is a little crumpled, which tells me that it may have actually been like worn and dry cleaned. And I can just tell that it's sturdily enough made to retain its impeccability even through use. And that's something that I value highly, especially in like a basic like this. I am, again, planning to wash it by hand. I wouldn't put it in the washing machine. I know that people have had success with washing cashmere in the washing machine in those washing bags, but I don't mind washing my wool things by hand, and that's what I'll do with this. I'll soak it in cold water in the sink with a little bit of shampoo. I'll gently squeeze the water out, and then I'll lay it flat to dry. That is what I have done with cashmere and wool in the past, and that's what I'll do with this. Okay, this is kind of a funny one, also from a consignment shop. These pants were also hanging in the extra large section. And even though you would think that of all things that I definitely wouldn't be able to wear if they were massively too big, it would be pants, I still always go all the way through to the end of the row when I'm looking at pants at consignment shops or thrift shops. And stylistically, these sort of drapey, flowy pants with seaming in them to make them kind of hang in an interesting way, that's the kind of thing that I absolutely love. So I took them in the dressing room, I tried them on. They do fit a little bit loosely, but I like that. Again, I was specifically looking for comfortable pants and they're not falling off of me, you know what I mean? Like they're totally wearable. The one possible drawback of these for me was the fabric. So I tried them on, I fell in love with them. I was like, I really want these. The fabric is very obviously synthetic, and I almost never buy a synthetic fabric like this. Yeah, the fabric is just a nylon and elastane blend. It's not my first choice because I don't find it to be just the coziest, but I do know that technical fabrics like this tend to be really sturdy, which is something that I value. These were new with tags, and there was like a little bit of information on the tag about the fabric saying that it's designed to be sturdy basically as activewear. So even though they're these drapey, flowy pants, it's like you can wear them in the rain, you can wear them in the water. They're supposed to like block UV rays and protect you from the sun. It's like you can go hiking in them. You know, on the tag, they were being billed as these like really sturdy, sort of all-purpose but dancerly comfy pants. And again, it was a brand I'd never heard of. The brand is called Alembica, and these pants are particularly called Techbica, and I think that they're supposed to be the like technical fabric arm of the Alembica brand. And of course, you know, they can be washed and worn. They're designed for that, and I have no concern about their longevity. Overall, my mission to find comfortable pants at the consignment shop was really successful. I couldn't believe I had found 2 pairs of comfortable, sort of flowy, comfortable pants with dramatic silhouettes. Okay, this is the last piece. This is also from the consignment shop. You'll be happy to see that it's not black. It's sort of this chocolate burgundy color. And this is the thing that I was the least sure about. It is a pure wool tunic sweater. It isn't felted, but it has like a little bit of a felted feeling. It's just that kind of wool. It has these sculptural details all around the hem, which look very organic, sort of insectoid or chrysalis-like. I really love that. As I said before, I love texture and I love clothes that have a sculptural quality. I actually feel like there are a number of pieces in this haul that have a sculptural quality of one kind or another. This, curiously, is labeled as a size small, but it was hanging in the extra larges. As you'll see when I put it on, the arms are really, really long. It caught my eye because, again, it has this sculptural quality that I'm interested in. This chocolate burgundy is a color that I really love and that I've been wanting to incorporate more of into my wardrobe. And when I saw the brand, my antenna perked up even more because I did recognize the brand on this piece. So the brand is called Runholz, and it is, I believe, an independent brand in Germany. And I know about it because I have in the past owned a pair of Runholz pants that I also got at a consignment shop, but back when I lived in Los Angeles. And those pants, they're actually really similar to the black pants that I just showed you, the kind of drapey ones, but they were made out of a cotton jersey knit, and they were a little bit less dramatic in silhouette than those. And I wore those pants literally to pieces. And I saw this and I saw that it was Runholz. I was like, oh, that brand kind of has my number. And I also knew that based on the little research that I had done back when I purchased those pants in the designer consignment shop in LA, that it's not a super well-known brand in the United States because it's a German brand and I don't know how much they sell here, but it's very high-end. I mean, like really niche, really well-made things, really coveted by people who like this style. So I went back and forth about this one a little bit. I felt initially like it might be a little bit too like wood sprite, too creature of the forest kind of for me, like a little too on the nose with hippie coastal grandmother. But ultimately, I just wanted to wear it. I just loved having it on. I love the long sleeves. And it too has that wonderful combination of being something that's cozy enough and warm enough because it's wool that I will just be like wearing it in the house just for warmth. I'll just throw it on. I'll wear it again to cook, to work, to edit, to write, but it's fashion. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not sweatpants. It's not a sweatsuit. I'll be wearing it casually, but it will give me a little something. And I have been wanting to infuse my wardrobe with pieces like that. So decided to get it. I also, I'll wash it by hand like I do with my wool. And I feel confident that if it doesn't work out, I'll be able to resell it. Knowing the brand and knowing that the brand is coveted and that the brand is something that tends to show up on the resale market made me feel confident that I would be able to resell it if I decided I didn't love it. But now that I have it home, I do love it. So that is it. That's my secondhand clothing haul, basically showing you everything that I've bought secondhand since I moved here. So takeaway number one is to cast a wide net when you are shopping in a thrift shop or at a consignment shop. And I didn't say this, but I also go through the section labeled men's clothing as well, especially when I'm at like a big Goodwill or something, especially the sweaters, but also blazers, pants. And again, this is partly because sometimes a men's sweater or a men's blazer will fit me really well and work for me. It's also because things tend to get mixed up and I'll find things that were designed to be women's wear mixed in with the men's wear pretty much every time I go through it. Takeaway number two, I would say, is to kind of know what you love rather than just sort of casting aimlessly around and thinking to yourself, will this work? Will this work for me? Maybe I like this now. Maybe I'm the kind of person who wears this. I have in my mind, chocolate burgundy is a color that I'm trying to incorporate into my wardrobe more. Texture is one of my favorite qualities in a piece of clothing. Comfortable pants that aren't sweatpants or aren't clearly loungewear is something that I feel like I have a need for. When I'm cold in the winter, wool is the only thing that keeps me warm, right? I mentioned all of these things in passing as I was going through. It's like I have a little list in my head of like basic principles around which I'm trying to build a wardrobe. Because I make videos about this kind of thing, because I talk and think a lot about aesthetics, I'm very familiar with those. But you may not be. And this could be the moment for you to sit down and make a little list and kind of clarify those principles of your own desires for clothing for yourself before you head out to the thrift shops and the consignment shops next time. And then lastly, a big thing for me, as you could tell when I was going through, is having a plan for caring for the garment. I talked a lot about whether the thing is something I can wash myself and how I'm planning to wash it. But I think another thing is imagining what the thing is going to be like after you wash it. Because just like the mall is, consignment shops and thrift shops are full of garments that just aren't going to wash very well. All acrylic sweaters tend to get really pilly and really grungy when you wash them. Sometimes super thin fabrics don't wash very well. Cheaply made things, you do come across things that were made in fast fashion shops, in thrift shops especially. And sometimes you find something that fits that description that is really sturdily made or happens to be made with a fabric that you think will wash and wear pretty well. But a lot of of times a garment only looks good before it's been washed, or like after it's been washed only once. And then once it's been washed 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, it's just never the same. So I always think about what something's gonna look like after it's been washed 10 times before I buy it, whether I'm buying it new or buying it secondhand. Those are all the takeaways that I can think of off the top of my head, but if I said anything else as I was going through that felt like a takeaway to you and I didn't include it in the recap here at the end, please share it with us in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope you're remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.